Welcome back to another 100% Construction FAQ, where we answer the most frequently asked questions from our customers. So today I would like to talk about what happens when a claim goes wrong. Now, before I can launch into this, one of the things that I have to say, I have to preface, is that this is not legal advice by any means. This is not me telling somebody to do this. All I'm doing is simply educating what all of this means. Now, that's a very long, drawn out, and probably kind of weird introduction. So I'll say that the reason I say that is because as contractors, there's certain things that we can and can't do. One of the things that we can't do is kind of coach our homeowners. So this isn't a coaching conversation. This is an education conversation just to explain to homeowners, reps, other owners that are new to the industry, kind of what happens when things go wrong. So what's the scenario? The scenario is a hailstorm blows through town and all the roofs on your street are getting redone. You call your insurance carrier, they show up and they say, yeah, we're just not seeing it. Or, well, we agree there's a little bit of damage, but not a full replacement. Meanwhile, 100% of your neighbors are getting their roof done and they paid to replace your car windows and your screens and your fence or whatever it is, but they're just saying we're not seeing it on your roof or whatever item it might be. So what happens? Well, there's a couple different options. Number one is you can do what's called a reinspect. And a reinspect is basically where you have a different adjuster come out, you have your contractor meet them out there, and they hopefully get somebody who's a little bit more reasonable and change the claim. That's best case scenario. Second scenario is, let's say they come out and they either completely deny it or underpay it substantially, meaning they pay for 3 vents instead of an entire roof. Well, this leads to 2 things. It leads to either appraisal or public adjuster. Now, again, it's not legal advice. I'm just explaining what these 2 things are. So an appraiser is just like an appraiser in any other industry. So what I like to tell people is imagine you've got a jewelry collection, a car collection, a firearms collection, whatever it may be that you're into, and you buy a new piece. The first thing you're going to do is take that to an appraiser, which is somebody who is objective and they don't have any financial stake in what that item costs, right? They're not selling it for you. They're just going to simply use it and use their industry knowledge and expertise to determine the price of that product. Once you have that, you're going to take that to your insurance carrier and say, hey, I bought a new X and I had it appraised. Here's the appraiser, what it's worth. And your insurance carrier goes, okay, well, here's what your premiums are going to be. And now that's added to your policy. Well, we have the same thing for construction. And all that is experts in construction. So in the event that they've come out and they've said, yeah, it's damaged, but we don't think it's a full replacement, then what happens is the homeowner hires an appraiser. And then the appraiser lets the insurance company know that they've been hired by the homeowner. At that time, the insurance carrier has 20 days to name their own appraiser. Those 2 appraisers get together at the property and they discuss what's going on. And then those 2 specialists who are supposed to be third-party objective opinions who don't have a financial stake in the claim get together and talk about what's necessary to get that item or roof or whatever it is back to its pre-storm condition. Now, typically in the state of Texas, this usually works. 80-85% of the time, these appraisers are able to come to an agreement of what actually needs to be done because, again, they should be specialists in this area. Sometimes they can't come to an agreement. And when they can't come to an agreement, then there's another step in the appraisal process. And that step is there's another person who's called an umpire. I'm going to say think of them as a judge, but they're not a judge and these aren't attorneys. It's just somebody who's going to take the findings from appraiser A and appraiser B, and they're going to look at them independently. They may even visit the property, and they're going to say, from what I see as an industry expert, I think that the price or the scope of work should be X. And whatever that umpire says, that's it. That's the end of it. That's what the price of the job should be. It's worth noting here that there are some very rare cases where it doesn't go the way that it should because people are just doing the wrong thing. But it is rare and it shouldn't stop you from exploring that option if it's something that you need to do for your home or your property. The second option is a public adjuster. Now, a public adjuster is completely different from an appraiser. And what they do is they're a licensed adjuster in the state that we're talking about, and the homeowner can hire them. And when the homeowner hires them, they can actually go through their policy paperwork and they can see specifically what's written in the policy. Keep in mind, a contractor and an appraiser are not allowed to do that. So then they can go to the insurance carrier and say, hey, as per the policy, you owe X, Y, and Z. Again, most of the time this works. Sometimes some carriers make it really difficult and it doesn't work. So when do you use appraiser versus public adjuster? Well, a good rule of thumb that makes it really simple is this. Is the insurance carrier admitting that there's damage, or are they saying there's no damage at all? Because if they're saying, yes, there's damage, we just don't agree with you how much damage there is, then an appraiser is usually going to be the best way to go. It's going to be the most cost-effective option to determine the actual correct scope of work to repair your job correctly. Now, you can only hire an appraiser if the insurance carrier has already said that there's something wrong. So if the insurance carrier came out and said, we don't agree the roof is damaged, but we agree that vent is damaged, then an appraiser can come in and they can meet with the other appraiser and they can do what they do and everything's fine. If the insurance carrier comes out and says, we don't agree there's any damage whatsoever, appraiser is no longer an option because there's no accepted liability. So they can't hire an appraiser. So at that point, the homeowner has to explore the route of a public adjuster. So simply put, is there damage admitted by the insurance carrier? If the answer is yes, appraisal is the best option in most cases. Now, again, this is not legal advice. You can talk to appraisers or public adjusters, and they can kind of fill you in on who does what and why. But if there is admitted damage from the carrier, or excuse me, if there's not admitted damage from the carrier, and they're just saying, yeah, we don't see it, then public adjuster is really the only option. It's not the best option, it's the only option. Last little caveat here that I'll say is sometimes people hire public adjusters and the insurance carriers still just make it really difficult, and that public adjuster then hires an appraiser. So now you've got a public adjuster who hired an appraiser, and then you've got the homeowner, you've got the whole trifecta of everybody involved. So with that said, I hope that this helps. Public adjuster versus appraisals, when to use them, when not to. Again, it's case by case. Again, this is not legal advice. This is just me explaining what these two options are, how they work, and how to kind of explore those possibilities if and when you find yourself in that position. If you've got any more questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or my team. You can reach us at 469-999-6091, or you can always reach us at www.stoptheknocking.com. Have a great day. Hope this helps.